Welcome, dillweeds, to TP For Your Earholes. Today, we are getting into one of our favorite things about Beavis and Butt-head, and that is our favorite side characters. And we are super excited for that. But before we get any deeper into that, let's tell you who we are. Who do I got with me?
I was just going to say, you're going to skip that part of the show. I know it's really easy to do, but hello, everybody. I am Charlene Schmidt, and with me is my husband.
My name's Patrick Schmidt, and we've been doing this podcast now for, almost 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, this is the 8th episode.
Yeah.
This is marking 2 months, exactly.
And we hope that you are following us on one of our socials by now. If you're not, we're going to tell you how to do that right now before we dive into our favorite side characters. So, Char, how do they do that?
Please follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Facebook at TP For Your Earholes. That way you keep up with our latest updates. You know when a new episode drops. Have you all figured out what time that the new episodes drop yet? If so, let us know on the socials, or you can go to tpforyourearholes.com and fill out the contact form and contact us there. And I just want to say, now that we've been doing this for a little while, we have been getting some interaction from people who have found us, who are listening to us. And I don't know about you, but I am so incredibly humbled and grateful and so excited that this is happening.
It's so awesome to hear from people who we don't know, but we share this interest. We share this love for this show. I can't thank y'all enough for reaching out and saying what you said. It's been overwhelmingly positive, and we want to keep heading that direction. Y'all have been great, and we just have more room on the bus, so come aboard.
Yeah, there's plenty of room to do the pressed fruit bowls while Van Driesen sings a song. And
so this particular episode of TP For Your Earholes, we're exploring this idea of side characters. So what is a side character? That's sort of the debate that some people will have.
Yeah, let's define it.
How we defined it for this particular episode is, for us, it's anyone that isn't Beavis or Butthead. Like, if you have your name in the title of the show, you can't be a side character.
No, that would be really weird.
It would be. So it's not Beavis, it's not Butthead, but they have to have been in more than one episode. And we don't care whether it's original run or one of the reboots. We really don't care, but you have to have been in more than one episode. And that's sort of how we defined it.
I came up with a plan of attack for this because there's no way we're going to cover every single side character in this episode alone.
No.
This is very likely going to be the first of several episodes on this topic. And so what we're going to do is threefold. I've picked a very big side character, like a very recurring character. Another character that was certainly around, but maybe not as top tier as the first pick. And then lastly, I'm going to pick one more that's a little more of a deep cut, that's still technically, by our definition, a side character, but maybe not the most popular one.
And I'm following the exact same pattern, except completely different. And that is, I've got two huge characters and one who's a really deep cut.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so that's where we're going to go. And sometimes in episodes like this, we don't tell each other what the characters are going to be or what our favorite whatevers are.
Right.
This episode, there's no secrets. We know what's coming from each other. Hopefully, though, it's a surprise to you, dear listener, as to what we're getting into. And like I say, there's only so much we can cover when we're only talking about 6 characters. So,
right.
Absolutely, please reach out to us. Tell us who your favorites are.
If we don't get to your favorite side characters, it doesn't mean we don't like them. We just kind of had to pick. And we'd love to know why your characters make your list as they do. And like we just said a moment ago, we're probably going to revisit this. And who knows, maybe if you share some input for us, we'll ask if we can share your thoughts on those characters when we get to them on the show.
So should we dive in?
Let's dive in. Who is your first side character?
The first side character that I want to explore is something I touched on in the first episode of TP For Your Earholes. And that someone is Buzzcut.
Yes. The definition of masculinity for teenage boys everywhere.
Right. And let's clarify, toxic masculinity, right?
Yes, thank you.
So Buzzcut was definitely the most quoted character outside of Beavis and Butthead growing up, like in my friend group. And I was involved in sports throughout growing up. I played football, I played basketball, and then I was a sports reporter for several years after that. And let me tell you, this character of Buzzcut hits so many of those stereotypes so well.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why he was so beloved as a character in my little sports-centric friend group, was that he was that picture of what a man should be to a lot of 15-year-olds.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, especially in school, I hated people who fit this archetype, especially the gym teachers, because that really hits the nail on the head. I had a couple of gym teachers who were very much like Buzzcut and very much favored the jocks in class and get all the special treatment. And then meanwhile, us nobody losers who don't care to play team sports and maybe aren't athletically inclined, well, we are just absolutely nothing to them. And still to this day have mental scars from that.
I'm not surprised. And I think Beavis and Butthead probably in their middle age do too. They have mental scars from all the trauma Buzzcut put them through, which is, I think that makes us more like Beavis and Butthead than we realize.
Maybe so. What was great though for Beavis and Butthead, even if they didn't intend for it to happen, is that they did get revenge back on Buzzcut every now and again. They made him suffer.
True. Very true. But when I think of this show and when I think growing up with it, I mean, I really do come back to two lines from Buzzcut. One is, kick me in the jimmy.
Right.
And the other one is, I'll show you a man, boy. The number of times that got uttered like right before a fist fight, I'll show you a man, boy.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
It was, I'll say more than once.
Good gravy.
And that probably says something more about the people I grew up with than the show, but still, it's a very memorable character because of that. I mean, positive or negative, Buzzcut's memorable.
Because we all know somebody like this, and we certainly know the archetype. And dare I say, in the 90s, it was even more accepted as the standard for men than it might be today.
Definitely the case.
Yeah, and that is okay that that's changed a little bit. Like, you don't have to go full on Van Driesen, but you don't have to be a hard ass Buzzcut either. Positive masculinity comes in a lot of forms, it turns out.
Yeah, and with that, I think that there's a place for another voice that might be deemed stereotypical, but is really not. And I think that this is one of the big differences between my first character and your first character, is that one was, oh, this is a cliche, and they were. I think your first choice was, this is a cliche, and they ended up not being one. So who's your first person?
My first pick for side characters has got to go to Daria.
There it is.
Look, she was there nearly from the very beginning and got one of the most memorable introductions ever. Diarrhea, cha-cha-cha. Diarrhea, cha-cha-cha. It's fun to say.
So good.
Yes, and she became such a memorable recurring character that she got her own spin-off. So that's why I have to go with her. But what did make her unique, despite being that stereotypical smart girl in class, and dare I say also leading a little bit into the spin-off, but just a tiny bit, I'm not going to go dive deep into the series Daria itself, is the I'm not like other girls kind of stereotype.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But the thing that's really interesting about Daria, especially compared to other characters in the Beavis and Butthead world, is she's one of the few people in general, but certainly one of the few females who has the patience to actually try to interact with these guys and explain how things work in the world. This is often lost on them, but she gives a lot more of an effort than most people do. And I had to think on this. Why would she do this, right? And I think of episodes like Walkathon, where she knows she can play them like a fiddle and get a lot of money that they do not have. So I concluded that she's doing this for their amusement.
I think you're totally right on that. I think that that's a Really interesting way of looking at it as far as Daria being like the Greek chorus.
Sure.
Daria gets to say the things that the audience wants to say, or that would be a reflection of what a normal person is thinking in this situation. It's
Right.
kind of refreshing to hear that voice every now and again.
It's true. It is, and it gives us, as well as the character, like a much needed laugh. And certainly for Daria as the character, that's getting her through the day in what is otherwise a barely tolerable high school experience. So the other reason why I had to pick Daria is because I was a Daria in high school.
Okay.
Very much. I was definitely the bookish type who didn't particularly care to interact with a whole lot of people. I was not sporty. I was not popular. I was definitely one of the misfit kids. So when the spinoff did take off and we get to know her family and they go to this new school and introduce a whole new cast of characters, I loved Daria for a completely different set of reasons as a show compared to Beavis and Butthead, even though it's, one spawned the other.
Right. Same world.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
definitely they did a different take on it. And I appreciated Daria's more direct and I would say detailed commentary on things like growing up, high school life, stuff like that. I mean, I found it far too
Mhm.
relatable as a high schooler myself at the time.
Speaking of spin-offs,
Does that lead to your number two pick?
it does.
Go for it.
Because my number two pick, I told you I had another big one that we just couldn't ignore if we were going to talk side characters. That's
Truth.
Tom Anderson.
Yeah.
How do you not mention Tom Anderson at this point? Because he leads to another spinoff, which is his character just kind of polished up, and in the word I wrote, even though it's the wrong word, is euthanized.
I like the way you spelled this out in our notes. Can I tell the audience how it is?
Please. Mhm.
Youth-Anize.
Euthanized. There's no doubt that there's a link between Tom Anderson and Hank Hill. They are the same voice. They're not the same person or the same character, but there's a ton of similarities. And you don't get King of the Hill, which is now into double digit numbers of seasons. They just did the reboot, just launched for
Uh-huh.
the new King of the Hill. And what I liked about Tom Anderson in the setup to King of the Hill was that Tom Anderson really was a great foil for a lot of Beavis and Butthead's destructive tendencies. Because they've had destructive tendencies, right?
Oh, just a little. I've always felt bad for Tom Anderson. He's so naive when it comes to Beavis and Butthead, or Buffcoat and Beaver, or whoever he thinks they are at the time. He gets fooled so easily. And I don't know how many thousands of dollars of home repair he's had to
Oh,
do
gosh.
just because he had Beavis and Butthead helping him. I say that in quotes.
Right. And in part, you kind of are able to still laugh at it, though, because Tom Anderson's not very likable.
It's true.
You wouldn't mind having Tom Anderson as your neighbor as long as you didn't see him very often. He's one of those neighbors where
Yeah.
the less you see him, the more you like him.
Maybe so. Yeah, if you knew him on a very superficial level, you'd get along fine. You'd appreciate that he does keep up his house and what have you. But you don't want to get to the point where you're sitting in the living room hearing all the war stories.
Exactly, exactly. The root of a spinoff comes from this sort of almost throwaway character that becomes a regular who becomes a lead character in another series. It's kind of a cool progression, and I really appreciate seeing that from Mike Judge, especially to be able to recognize that as another cool storytelling avenue. And I guess admission time, I have not watched a ton of King of the Hill. How about you?
Yeah, I can't say I've watched a ton of it, and I have no good reason why. I love animation. I love Mike Judge. Why have I not watched this show? I got nothing. No good reason, just haven't.
And I'm right there with you. I've watched probably maybe a quarter of the series here and there, mostly in college, just watching TV with friends and stuff like that. But it's a definitely different show. And at the same time, it's also, you can see the parallels and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a brainchild of Mike Judge, for sure. And it's
Hmm.
not just the voice of Hank Hill, aka Tom Anderson.
Yes. So, Char, who is your middle of the road character or characters that you identified as some of your favorites?
That's a good way of putting it. Middle of the road. I chose Lolita and Tanqueray, the female equivalent of Beavis and Butthead.
I'm Lolita. This is Tanqueray.
Every time we meet them, they've got to do that introduction. It's great. And unlike our favorite dumbasses, these chicks have probably scored like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is about all we do know about these two. They are constantly on dates with guys. They won't resist an opportunity to make out with someone. Like they even offered to Beavis and Butthead to make out behind the bleachers during a
Oh, yeah, it was Teen Talk. Captain Dick Jackman.
yeah, and they had to be on Teen Talk because what was it, the principal or one of their teachers saw them in a porno.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we wouldn't be here if our principal hadn't rented it.
That's it, that's it. So we know they've at least done one porno. And one thing that occurred to me just recently, after all these years, is that Lolita and Tanqueray are just younger versions of Beavis and Butthead's moms.
Ooh, I like that parallel.
Same kind of idea. Like, unfortunately, they're kind of losers. They're not going to get super well educated in life. Their only goal really is to get a man. And I have to guess that if Beavis and Butthead ever did score, like if we find out that they did score with middle-aged Beavis and Butthead, it was finally with Lolita and Tanqueray.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. They've set the bar pretty low for their standards of what kind of men they'll be with.
Yes.
I think Beavis and Butthead, on a good day, might even meet that standard.
Just barely, but probably.
Yeah.
And one thing that I do hope that old Beavis and Butthead world will give us sometime in this coming season is what do Lolita and Tanqueray's lives look like?
That'd be fun.
Did they happen to manage to score some sugar daddies and they're actually living some semi-decent lives with however freaking many kids they have? Or are they sharing a trailer house somewhere in poverty in Highland and living off of welfare checks? Are their houses completely overrun and stuff like that? I would love to see them at least one more time. How about you?
I think that'd be great. I think that'd be fantastic to be able to see them. And I keep waiting for these cameos from the original run side characters in the reboots. They're ones that we haven't seen yet, and it's time. It's totally time. We're ready.
I think so too. So we're already on to our deeper cut character, and I think you've got a really good pick here. So why don't you tell everybody what it is?
My absolute favorite side character who's only been in 2 episodes. So I thought he'd been in a lot more. He's only been in 2, and that is Attorney Joe Adler.
Better call Joe Adler.
Right? I looked on the Beavis and Butthead wiki, and if you haven't been on the Beavis and Butthead wiki site, it is amazing. It's an invaluable resource to the research that we do for this podcast. So good. And it turns out, yeah, he was only in 2 episodes. And the fact that he was in 2 episodes that you and I quote all the time, he's probably one of the most quoted characters, or at least his episodes are some of the most quoted episodes that we roll out literally on a daily basis in our house.
Yes, because whenever we see the lawyer commercial, we're talking about, have you been injured? Would you like to be injured? You might have even been injured and not even known it.
And we live in Southern California. We see those billboards, those ads all the time.
All the time.
They are omnipresent.
It's incessant. Yeah.
So we actually don't mind seeing them all that much because we get to bring up Joe Adler when we see that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, Attorney Joe Adler, we salute you.
Some of the lines that we quote, I just want to throw these out.
Do it.
What about you, Mary?
My name is Beavis, sir.
There's so many just little good one-liners that come from their interactions. He's just such a great character that others can play off of. And I think that's what I appreciate most about him is in the episodes that he's putting Beavis and Butthead in situations they're normally not in.
Ooh, good point.
And being in those new situations, brings out a different level of hilarity that I really appreciate.
That is such a good point. I did never think about that. It's true, though. I mean, they don't understand the world at all. So to put them into a new situation and seeing how that shakes out, well, that's always a thrill.
Yes. All right. So who is your deep cut favorite side character?
For my last pick, I wanted to go with a recurring character in the newer seasons, and that is Cody. He's most prominently featured in the episode Sleepover, where his parents invite Beavis and Butthead to stay the night in hopes that their son will make friends. But
Mhm.
Cody can't stand Beavis and Butthead and does not seem to have many friends. And I would like to know more about this character. I think he's really interesting. We've seen him in class a couple of times. He's spoken a couple of random lines in other episodes, but really, aside from Sleepover, that was just opening the door to this character. And there's so much more that we could learn. I'd love to know if Cody doesn't have a lot of friends because he's just a loner. Maybe he thinks people his age are stupid, where like he's the Daria of this particular incarnation of Beavis and Butthead, or is something more antisocial going on? Or is he just that embarrassed by his parents and doesn't want friends to come over? He'll go over to his friend's house, but he won't invite people over.
Hey, did you ever have friends like that growing up where it was like they always came over, but you never went to their house?
Funny you should say that because I rarely had friends over at my house because my mom always had something torn up because she was cleaning. It's like, we can't have company right now. Everything's a mess.
hmm
Sorry, mom.
And I wasn't allowed to have friends over if one of my parents wasn't home. And my parents were both teachers. So they were usually staying late. So I'd go to friends' houses as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So neither one of us is a Cody. Maybe that's why he's so interesting to us.
Well, I tap a little bit into the loner aspect because
Sure.
that was me in high school. I had some friends, but not too terribly many. And there was a lot of coming and going too. Like the friends I had for any one given year didn't necessarily stick around till the next one.
hmm
And making friends is tough. And so by the time I was in high school, it was just kind of, I'll just stick to my notebooks and writing. I'm fine with that.
Well, and I think Cody will make for a really interesting recurring character in this current incarnation of the reboot if they keep him coming back. There's a lot you can do with a character like that.
Yeah, he's got a lot of potential. So I'm hoping in season 3, and if we get more beyond that, we see a whole lot more of him and he becomes not just a deep cut side character, but a side character.
Yes, absolutely. It'd be really fun to see that happen.
Yes. Now, we are done with our 3 picks for this particular episode. However, you do have an honorable mention. Yes?
I do. And I feel like this character could be one of those characters that you could argue it's two separate characters. They only appeared once each, and therefore it's not a recurring character. If you think that way, you are a liar. This is the same person. They're playing two different people, right? And that is Mr. Manners and Mr. Candy.
Yes.
I think there's an argument that could be made that in canon, it's the same person because he makes that argument about, it took me 2 months to find a new job, right?
Totally.
I think it's the same person, and they're both voiced by David Spade, which, sorry to call you out like this, Char.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Char didn't know that that was David Spade doing that voice up until like a year ago, year and a half ago.
I'm dumb.
I said that just like in passing one day. I was like, "Oh yeah, David Spade. I wonder how he's doing." And you were like, "What?" It just didn't. There was never that connection.
It never registered.
Yeah, and it was one of those deals where I knew it immediately as soon as I heard it in 1995 or whatever. I was like, "Oh, that's David Spade. That's awesome," because he did the bumper voices too.
It's true. And I did know that. It never occurred to me that David Spade played both of those characters, despite the fact that he has a fairly distinctive voice. I should have known that. And both of those characters, Mr. Manners and Mr. Candy, again, very quotable in our house. We do a lot of that.
Yes.
And very memorable characters, just generally speaking, but for a one off.
Yeah,
Kinda.
and those episodes are classic.
They are.
They're so memorable and they're so well done. And I think we just needed to give a shout out to David Spade and shout out to that character. I'm putting character in air quotes here that kind of straddled the line between one off and recurring. And This also leads into what our next episode is going to be.
Yeah.
Our next episode is going to be our favorite one episode characters.
Right. So now we are going to go into the one-offs.
Yep. You only saw them once and then they never came back. Who were our favorites? But also at the same time, just like with this episode, we want to know who are your favorites? Who are the side characters that I'm going to put this very much with a emphasis that we will be back to this topic.
Right.
Who did we miss?
Right. Yeah, we know we can't possibly cover it all. Just let us know who your absolute top must-haves are. How about that?
Yeah, it'd be great. And you can catch us on Blue Sky. You can catch us on Facebook. You can catch us on Instagram. And we are at TP For Your Earholes on all of those places. We are also at tpforyourearholes.com, which is our website. And we have a whole place where you can leave a comment and we get it right into our inbox.
Yeah, there's a letter in our mailbox. Sorry, that's a George Carlin reference, also very quoted in our house.
Yes.
But this is a Beavis and Butt-head podcast. So thank you, fart knockers out there, for joining us for this episode. We hope you'll join us again next week where we tackle those one-offs.
It's going to be a lot of fun and hope you join us for that. And we'll talk to you then.